Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's Kappa Kappa Gamma Lifestyle webinar series. We are going to pause for about 4 minutes and get started at 9:05. So go ahead, get a cup of tea, get yourselves comfortable, and we'll be starting in just a couple minutes. And moderator this evening. This webinar will be presented by Gloria Eid, and she will take us through this webinar. Before we start the presentation, let's take a moment to ensure that everyone is ready and familiar with the webinar control panel. On the right side of your screen, you will see the attendee control panel, and on the left is the webinar viewer window. This viewer window displays the presenter screen. The control panel can be minimized or expanded by clicking on the horizontal double arrow. Mine's a single arrow now. I don't know if these instructions are up to date. In the upper left corner. Minimizing the panel allows a better view of the presentation. There are a few features of the control panel that attendees should be aware of. An important feature of the control panel is the questions pane. To submit a question, type it in the question box. These might be questions related to the presentation or technical questions related to GoToWebinar. You may also be asked by the presenter to type your ideas or responses here as part of an exercise during the webinar. Right now, I'd like everyone to try to send a quick note in the questions pane by telling me your chapter or location. I'll say hi back after I'm done these notes. Questions can be submitted at any time. These will be monitored, and we will try to respond quickly if we see something that shouldn't wait until a question answer period, such as making a clarification. During the webinar, you may be asked to respond to a polling question or survey. Please take the time to participate as your input and ideas are valuable to the group. Be sure to stay attentive and to interact as much as possible during the webinar. The quality of your experience depends on your attention and participation. Try to avoid the distractions of responding to email, checking Facebook, instant messaging, or working on other tasks on your computer. If you need to step away for a moment, do not close the GoToWebinar window, as you will be required to log in again if you wish to rejoin the session. If you experience problems with the audio, one possible solution is to use the conference call number and listen to the presentation using your phone. Click the Use Telephone option in the audio pane of your control panel to view the conference call number. This webinar is being recorded, and the online archive will be available to view on the Kappa website in approximately 2 weeks. If there are no further questions, I'd like to hand over my virtual microphone to Gloria.
Thanks, Lisa, and welcome everyone. I'm so glad you're here, and thank you so much for being here. Welcome to How to Live a Life and Career of Purpose. This is an online immersive webinar in which I'm going to share with you as much of my own insights and knowledge that I've gathered from my own lived experiences, my own career explorations, and the concepts and teachings I've discovered along the way. So in our short time together, I'm going to share with you a framework for living a life by design, not by default. And that's the big idea of this webinar tonight, that you can at any point design your life and career experience without confusion, stress, anxiety, doubt. I know a lot of the things that kind of keep us where we're at and stop us from moving forward and knowing how to take steps. This is so that you can make decisions with clarity, confidence, and trust in yourself that you're doing the right thing. So the process that I'll introduce you to tonight works to help you quickly identify your core strengths, learn how to own your unique gifts, and decide how you want to serve and impact the world. All so that you can create a life and career that feels alive and aligned to the best and most genuine version of yourself. Even if you're scared of change, anxious about the future, or don't know how to manage the unknown. So for today's agenda, just really quickly, I want to make sure that you know that I want to leave you with clarity where there was once confusion. I want to leave you with belief where there was once doubt. I want to leave you with awareness and courage where there was once ambiguity and fear. And most definitely, I want to leave you with a big boost of reassurance that you have the ability to start designing a life and career you love. As for who I am, this is me, I'm Gloria, hello. I am a community developer, a leadership trainer, a communication and career educator, and life coach. My career has been rooted in the context of higher education and student development, and my education is rooted in sociology and human communication. Right now I work full-time as a co-op advisor with the University of Waterloo in Canada, and in this role I really bring my experience and my passion with human development into supporting the next generation of leaders as they navigate workplace challenges and figure out their careers. I love holding career conversations. I talk about dozens of topics with young people, like the job search, interviewing, networking, negotiating, productivity, and performing well at work, and of course, personal growth. So in all the work that I do, people are the purpose, and you'll certainly learn more about me as we go on. So I'm Canadian, as I mentioned, and I was born and raised just outside of Toronto. Shout out to all the Canadian sisters out here that might be tuning in right now. I moved to Vancouver 5.5 years ago, and I adore the West Coast, the beauty and the spirit and the lifestyle that it offers over here. In university, I was a member of the Zeta Omega chapter at the University of Waterloo, and this was us over 10 years ago. And I wonder if there's any woman from this photo on the call right now. If so, please say hi, and I miss you. My time in Kappa was transformational when I joined in my first year, and it still continues to be a big part of my life. It was really where I discovered that I have an innate ability to impact people's lives, and significantly for me, through the interpersonal one-on-one ways. And since then, I've gone on to participate and facilitate at Leadership Academy, a beautiful experience that Kappa offers us. And I've been now an every member education trainer for at least 2 years, where I connect in with chapters who seek support in leadership development and membership engagement. So that's a little bit about me, and now I want to find out who you are and who's joined in this evening. And oh, there's Morong. Hello. Yeah, she was part of my chapter. So Lisa's got a poll for us on the screen that I hope she can pull up, and it's just to let us know which stage of membership you're in. So take a moment to fill that in.
Everyone should see a choice of radio buttons in front of them. Click on the radio button that matches your stage of Kappa-ness, and then click on submit, please. Okay, everyone, we are 100% alumni today.
Oh, how fun. Well, welcome. I hope each one of you finds value in this tonight. And that, I guess, kind of makes it easier. We all know that we're out of our university days and on to the next step. So I really look forward to hearing your thoughts, your own insights, your own questions. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. So moving on. One of the biggest messages that I want to send is that I'm not here giving this webinar alone. What's led me to this point is really a compilation of all of the mentors that have influenced me in my life and the conversations and lessons that I've gathered that now shape what it means for me to live an inspired and creative life that I hope you too will find some value and insight in throughout our time tonight. A bit of my story and how this came to be for me. In university, as I mentioned, I studied sociology and speech communication at Waterloo, and then I went on to get my master's in professional communication from Ryerson University. And Along the way, I fell into and in love with the world of student affairs in higher education as a career path. I moved to Vancouver to take a job where I was coordinating and leading a university campus's program for incoming first-year international student orientation. And it was incredible. It was such a life-affirming type of work experience. The program itself was life-changing for the international students that we served. It was really meaningful to me. It challenged me professionally. I felt very supported by my team. And it was a field of work that in general made me feel very happy and excited. But I left it because at some point, years later, it just didn't feel that way anymore. I felt pretty tapped out. At the time, I was transitioning into my late 20s, and there was a steady pull towards something different, but I wasn't sure what that was. And for months before that time, there was a creative calling that was really burning inside me that I couldn't figure out how to give space for with the work life that I had, no matter my efforts to balance it all. So work naturally, I guess eventually felt like just a hard grind, and it was suddenly distracting and not motivating, and it was suddenly stifling to my spirit and not fulfilling. And that was really hard for me to grapple with at the time, but I just knew that I had to give myself time to uncover the untapped parts of me and the parts that I wasn't actually able to discover and explore in the path that I had built out for myself so far. So when people asked about what was next for me, I really couldn't give them the answers they were looking for. Was it a new job? Are you going to travel the world? Are you moving back home to Toronto? No, none of that. I just craved ease, lightness, things that I lost sight of or realizing now perhaps I never truly had at the time. And really what I wanted was just a little space to be creative and to find the right rhythm for me. So everything that I had shared and had been sharing with students and things that I had taught on mindset and community and values and goals and career planning and creativity and work ethic, I felt like it was time that I held up my own mirror. And I was saying to myself, Gloria, you did a really great job getting yourself here, and I'm so proud of you, but what got you here is not going to be the same thing that will get you to what's next. And that's just all I knew. So that's a bit of my story, and I'm guessing that if you're here, you've probably said any of the following. I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't think I want to do what I went to school for. I really don't like my job. I have an ambitious dream, but I don't know if it'll work or how to get started. I know I'm not living up to my potential. I want to do another check-in here, and we've got a poll for you too that Lisa will pull up. I just want to gauge which one of these statements have you thought or said, if any?
Okay, so here is our second poll. Notice that you can select more than one answer on this poll, so feel free to check as many as are relevant for you. As well, for the fourth option, I couldn't write in the whole option, so I just cut it at, I don't know if it will work, but it also includes, and I don't know how to get started as well. Okay, so here are our results. In the first place, I guess that's not the right way to say it, but 67% of respondents said, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And 67% of respondents said, I know I'm not living up to my potential. Next, we have 39% of respondents saying, I really don't like my job. 28 of respondents saying, I don't think I want to do what I went to school for. And 22% of respondents saying, I have an ambitious dream, but I don't know if it will work or how to start.
Thank you. Okay, well, no matter what, I hear you, I see you, and you are in the right place. And I hope we just offer you a little bit more clarity tonight on any one of those. Thanks again for sharing. So you're going to learn tonight the 3 areas that intersect to design a life and work of purpose. You're also going to learn the 2 S words that will stand in your way as you try to make that happen. And you'll also learn the 2 A words that will get you out of your way. And if nothing else, I want to help you better understand who you are, what you believe in, and where you want to go. But in return, I want you to take any one piece that you learn here tonight and then take action on it. Deal? And I want to see some acknowledgement of that in the chat box in the questions. You can just write deal, which lets me know you're ready for this. In the meantime, yes, Molly, get cozy, grab your notebook in case you want to take some notes down. And love all of these agreements. Thank you, thank you. Okay, let's begin. So the content and material I'm sharing with you tonight is very much centered on the premise of this life philosophy here. That life for each one of us is fundamentally about finding our gifts and sharing our gifts. That's the journey and experience that life offers us. So if this is a purpose for life, to find and share our gifts, then the process in life is going to be perhaps figuring out how and where to find and share them, right? So let's shift into discussing this more concretely now. Our sense of purpose lies at the intersection of these 3 areas: what our values are, what we like to do, and what we have to give. And honestly, I've done a lot of reading, I've done a lot of training, I've done a lot of work on this, and I've distilled everything that I've read and learned about personal growth and fulfillment and callings and creative expression to these 3 things. Number 1, know what your values are and then live them out. Know what you like to do and make time to do it. And know what you have to give and contribute to the world around you. And then find the places and spaces where you can. So we're going to spend time in this next section dissecting these areas a little bit further so that you know at least one way you can start exploring each one of them. But before we do that, I kind of want to get the word purpose out of the way because purpose is big, right? And it's grandiose and it's honestly too abstract to do anything about. So if we spend all our time and our thinking here, we just end up denying ourselves the opportunity to feel our way through life and to actively engage and experiment with our questions and curiosities about who we are, who we want to become, and what we can do just right now, like as we are. So I'm inviting you to in this moment, actually forget about purpose, like capital P purpose, and just see what comes from taking the time to learn more about yourself and then deciding to express more of that to the world. That's all what I want from each of you tonight. And so we can start with number 1. Understanding your values. And knowing your values, you might have heard of this a lot. If this is the first time, it's going to be kind of like a really big overview 101 about values. But knowing your values is really simply about knowing what's most important to you and what matters most. So without an understanding of this, it is extra difficult to make decisions and find clarity in life. You know, values are the guides that we use, and they're kind of like the compass we use when working through challenges and making choices. So when you spend some time understanding what's important to you, it really becomes so much easier to know and to get what you want. So here are some examples. I figured, I'd go ahead and share what my values are. And you'll notice that I have a few subwords here associated to each one, because remember, right, we're dynamic, we're multidimensional human beings. There's a lot that we can care about and want for our lives. And so choosing words that resonate the most to us, or even phrases that resonate the most to us, is a good way to go. And You know, there are so many ways to discover and name your values. There are so many tools and exercises and thought experiments out there. It would require a whole other webinar to share with you. But if you're looking for a place to start, I suggest the book Find Your Why by Simon Sinek, which introduces you to a really practical application of your values in your life and work. So that's number one. And the second piece to where our purpose lies is found in doing what we like to do. And so I have some questions up here for you to just like, you know, ruminate over as I'm chatting with you. And it's funny because it's hard, I think, for many of us, and I see it and I felt it as well. It's hard for us to believe or accept that we can actually just do more of what we like to do, not just what we're good at doing. And we may not even be always that good at what we like, but honestly, if we do more of it, we get better, or we at least feel more aligned and more connected to a sense of purpose and a sense of satisfaction in our days. And it can really be this simple, just the idea that we just need to do more of what we like to do. It doesn't have to be for work yet, or it doesn't have to be for work at all. But if we're talking about finding and living out a sense of purpose and meaning and fulfillment, well, that can't happen if we're not actually enjoying how we're spending our time and using our days, right? So you can just start there. Take a look at these questions. Think about, you know, what's that first thought that comes to my mind when I read it? What's the first thing that comes up for me? Journal about it, or start a conversation with a friend about it. These are like great conversations starters to have at your next meeting or your next, you know, hang out with friends. Then once you figure out that a little bit more, gain a little bit more clarity, just do more of it. Just do more of what you would like to do. And if you want to dive a bit deeper with a fleshed out workbook about finding meaningful work, then you can check out the Quarter Life Breakthrough by Adam Smiley Poswolsky. He kind of walks you through the path that is best for you for finding meaningful work and living a meaningful life. So the third piece to living out a sense of purpose is getting clear on what you have to give. This has to do with, you know, that initial life philosophy that I shared, where it's about finding your gifts and then figuring out how you want to share them. And these are some questions that you can think about when it comes to discovering what your gifts might be. Obviously, it takes some reflection work, thinking about, okay, what impacts or contributions have I already made in my life so far? What do I love about myself? What do I admire about myself? What am I proud of? What do the people around me say that they love about me? And what am I naturally drawn to? If I'm able to pay attention to, you know, the things that light me up, what could those things be? You don't have to associate a place for them to exist in your life yet, just kind of noting that these are things that you're drawn to. And then when it comes to sharing your gifts, what types of impact do I want to have? Who do I want to serve? You know, what's the demographic, the population? Is it global, local, micro, macro? You know, what mission am I on? What problem can I help solve? The things that excite you here aren't random. What you're drawn to, the problems you can see yourself solving, the people you want to work with and serve, the parts about yourself that you admire, these are all connected to your purpose. And it's important that you follow them and give them space to be explored. So that's the rundown. And I know we quickly explored the three areas that intersect, that give us our sense of purpose in life and career. And I know you might be wondering, okay, like now what? And in this next part, I want to share a couple points to consider when it comes to mindset and how we approach this process of finding our gifts and sharing our gifts. But before we go on, I just want to pause. I feel like this is a good time to pause because I threw a lot at you. And I just want to see if there are any questions or what comes up for you. And of course, there's going to be time at the end as well. So I don't see any questions here just yet. So perhaps we'll just move on. All right. Time for another poll. So early in the webinar, I said that the main underlying message here was that you can create your life by design, right? Not by default. And if we engage in that process, it's helpful for us to know then what gets in our way so that we can change our approach or do things differently. So right now, I would just want to take a moment. We don't have a poll for this. I said poll, but it's going to be through the chat. To take a moment here to guess, just guess, what might be the 2 S words that could be getting in our way? Stress, self-doubt, those are good. Fears, no, it's not an S word. Nope, but it has definitely something to do with it. Okay, these are great guesses. Thank you so much for sharing. Compensation. Yeah, so the 2 words that I've got that absolutely are great themes for much of what you mentioned here today are, let's see here, should and success. So what do I mean by that? Every single one of us lives with a certain set of should stories that I think very much, as you all mentioned here, influence kind of the other blocks that we've got going on that you've mentioned. The way our lives should be and the way things should turn out. The expectations, really, that we place on ourselves. And the word should, for me, has just become so painful to hear because these comments are just ongoing narratives we tell ourselves. And I wonder, like, when's the last time you can recall, even casually, you making a statement, a should statement or a should story about where you need to be or what you need to be doing that you're not. And, it seems harmless and casual, but these are stories that are fueled by parts of us that have been very much influenced by our environments and upbringings and society. And when you focus on what you should do and should be like but aren't, you just stifle possibility and curiosity over what you actually want to do. And here's why. What you think you should do generally is what you already feel guilty and bad about. So when you focus on that, you send a powerful message to yourself and to the world that you are just not good enough and should be and do better. And that's not the most liberating, exciting place to work from and to create a life of meaning and purpose and satisfaction. But the truth is that we can always do and be better. As we grow, we naturally tap into new parts of ourselves that need to be explored. And naturally, that wakes us up to our next growth cycle. So as soon as we figure one thing out, something else changes, and it really doesn't stop. And I know that that does not sound awesome for the high-achieving, highly ambitious women that I know we all are, because this is why you're here right now on this webinar. But it's the truth. We're not perfect beings, and we're not going to stop changing. So we have to trust, first and foremost, that wherever we are is always right on time, and that you can be and are good, just as you are, not needing to be anything else. So an action step for this is just do a little bit of a pulse check. As I've shared this with you, what is one of your should stories that comes up, and ask yourself, is that really who I want to be? Is that what I actually want to do. And if it's not a true want, I invite you to drop it. Because like, why waste your life energy wishing for or working towards something you don't actually want in the first place? And I know it's hard because, like I mentioned, we're in a society that has certain constructs and scripts about how we need to operate in our worlds. But you know, and I have some thoughts on why that happens, and we'll get to that later on. But yeah, just here's an invitation to drop that, to think about it and just say, no, not anymore. And if you're feeling courageous, again, I'm going to invite this. You are more than welcome to share your should story in the chat box. That's that statement that came to your mind, the story that you now know, okay, that actually might not be true, and I thought it was, but I'm going to do the work to let go of that. So take that as an opportunity to just give yourself a chance to release it and see how it feels. I'll leave that invitation there for you. So next up is the success S word. And particularly the word success, what the concern is here is what it actually means to you. And I'd invite you again to think for a moment on when the last time was that you actually asked yourself, what is success to me? And what's significant here, and you know, every time that I ask myself that or talk about success with the people around me, it's funny because we know that the answer is different for everyone. There's no one way that success looks like. We know that. But when we look around us and when we look around our world, it seems like everyone is striving for the same thing. And not only that, but they're doing it in a very organized and pretty way. Though in reality, though it's upward, success obviously, you know, needs to be in an upward direction, it's also super tangled and messy and upside down and sideways sometimes. And you know, we live with this particular construct of what success needs to be and what that looks like and this path. And that comes from a very early age. You know, we're exposed to a particular type of success and one way that it's defined. And, you know, for the most part, it's probably through education and accolades and status symbols. But this type may or may not be the type for you. The point is that you get to decide this. But the trouble is that no one really told us along the way that we can. So sometimes we're left taking someone else's definition of success by default and striving for something that we don't actually really want. So life feels harder that way, naturally, when it doesn't actually need to be. So instead of trying to achieve success, because just like purpose, that's like a really big, grandiose, abstract word that really doesn't mean one thing, what I like to focus more on is just how I'd like to feel every day, or how I'd like to feel when I'm at least pursuing my work. So some questions to think about that are up here are, you know, what if success was about feeling what you want to feel? And what if success was about becoming more of who you are day after day? What would that change about how you're approaching work and life so far? And if you're looking for a place to dig deeper in this, if this has kind of resonated for you, you can check out the exercise book, The Desire Map by Danielle Laporte. She explains that when we set goals, we're not ever really chasing the actual goal. What we're chasing is the feeling behind the goal. And it's a concept that really helps us put our attention on what we want to feel, how we want to feel, to help us determine what we want to do and what we want to experience and what we want to have in our life to get that sense and that feeling of success. So those were the two S words. I'm just going to check in to see if there are any questions. Thank you for your shoulds. That's great. If not, I'm going to introduce you to the next little set. And these are two A words that get you out of your way. So we talked about should and success, those two words that might get you stuck. and might block you from your next step. What words, potential words, come to mind, words that could get you out of your way? Let's see what sort of guesses you've got here. Nice. Great. Thank you. Thank you. So the two that I've got are attention and action. So what you put your attention on grows. You have to decide to see the lessons in every experience and to really pay attention to the workings of your own life. Rather than operating from a place of default and a place of autopilot, just begin to notice the patterns in your life. And I love that these were some of the words that came up here too, like attitude informs that, and just allowing life, like all of this informs that. Think about the patterns in your life, in your relationships, in your thinking, in your mindset. Notice how you approach problems, how you find solutions. And through that, by just being conscious and paying attention, you may begin to notice what's holding you back. You may begin to notice patterns, and you'll identify areas in your life where you feel ready to make some small changes and where small changes seem possible. Attention is also taking notice of the simple things, allowing yourself to be present, to appreciate the moments as they are rather than trying to force them into the way that they should be, And it really is a form of generosity to yourself. It's getting to know more of who you are. And that's such a beautiful process and experience to give yourself. And then, of course, there's action, right? Because as we get to know ourselves better through our attention, we naturally find ourselves with the desire to do better and take more inspired, intentional action. This is a really good combination. It allows us to get out of our own way and to start making changes towards a life that just offers us that deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment that we're looking for. So of course, I'll be inviting you to take some action as we wrap up the webinar here. And that really is like fundamentally the thing that will help change is when you actually take steps. And this is where fear gets in the way, right? This is where our definitions of achievement get in the way, or, we have ambitions, but we don't know how to move forward. There's a process to taking action, and I hope to kind of support you in that as we wrap up. So today, or tonight, I should say, I promised to teach you a few things: how to quickly identify what's important to you, learn how to own your unique gifts, decide how you want to impact the world by introducing you to the 3 areas that intersect to design a life and work of purpose, by introducing you to the 2 S words that will stand in your way and that I encourage you to spend a little time exploring, and then the 2 A words that will get you out of your way that I encourage you to spend some more time with as well and to practice with. And hopefully I also have left you with a little bit more clarity where there was some confusion, belief where there was once doubt, and some awareness and courage where there was once ambiguity and fear. And most certainly I hope that I've left you with a big boost of reassurance that you have the ability, you have all that you need to start designing a life and career you love. So now it's your turn. As we wrap up, I really encourage and call you to take some action. I'd love to hear it if you have it right now. We've definitely got some time for this. Or I would invite you to send me an email and let me know what your biggest takeaway is, what makes it so significant for you, and what are you going to do about it? And that's the most important part here, is actually taking action, because nothing works unless you do. I'm like such a victim of this, of like input and like taking all of the information and knowledge there is out there and taking a lot more time to take action on it. It takes me like double, triple the time to actually like execute. So it's a learning process and it's practice, and I'd love to be somebody who can support you in taking that one step. Some ideas that you can think about from the webinar is just, if you haven't identified values yet or practiced with that, you can go through a process where you choose 3 to 5 of them and then try to make decisions for the next week with them as your guide. Or even if you start to share and discuss your values with a friend or a mentor, someone that you look up to, you can also take the approach of just deciding one thing that you like to do and just do more of it and tell me what that is. Anything at all, anything that was a takeaway for you that just made you like kind of turn your head and go, I never thought of that. Figure out what one action step can be for you within the next 2 days. And I'm putting that limit on it because I don't want you to walk away from this and forget. I want you to kind of take that step forward. So I invite you to email me. I'll leave that in the question box as well. And I'll totally offer you some more encouragement and action steps, that second action step in response. Have we got any questions there? Throw them in. Otherwise, that's it from me. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be here just looking at the question box for a little bit. If you liked it and if you want more of it, I'll be back in January and in April to offer a couple other conversations. In January, it's a webinar on growing your leadership potential. And then the second one in April, I think, is about how to make the most of your first 90 days in your new job. So yes, I'm going to share my email address right here. Send to all. Okay, so Lisa, I do see that there are some questions here, but I only have, I don't know what your view is like, but I only see one line at a time. So I'm actually, could you help me with that?
Yeah, so what you want to do is you want to click on it. And when you click on it, it will appear in the box below it. And then usually what we do is read it out so everyone knows what you're responding to.
Awesome. Okay. So shall I let you take care of that, or?
I will do that. Yeah, sure. So our first kind of comment is, I like the idea of exploring what you like to do, read books, think about what you did while young, etc. I'm going to spend time with that question. Also definitely going to make a list of my values.
Yay! I love that. Please email me and let me know what you come up with. I'd love to hear.
Which email should they email you at?
I put in the chat box, gloria.eid@gmail.com.
Excellent. Our second kind of comment / question is, will you share the email address? Okay, we got that. We have someone saying they're going to let go of the past, the whole should've, would've, could've's, seek new opportunities, and get brave.
Love, big and bold. I'm so excited for you.
And one last question. What is an action you did when you were reconsidering your career that made a big difference / stood out?
What is one decision I made when I was reconsidering my career, or action I made?
Yeah, one action.
Yeah. Play. That was big for me. When I left my career, I paused for, it ended up being a total of 10 months. That wasn't for whatever reason. It's just that's when my next opportunity came up that I felt like really like it was like a big yes for me. There were other opportunities along the way, but so there were two things. I practiced with saying no to things that kind of were like dangling carrots, like, oh, that could be good, and I could see myself doing that, but like it was just it was kind of like the same, like I could see myself kind of getting into that same vortex that I was trying to get out of. So really practicing saying no and trusting that the right opportunity will still come my way, even if it's not this one or the first opportunity. And second, when I had that bit of time in pause, I found myself in those first few months going right into like doing mode again. And what I realized early on was, whoa, like you need to step back and play a bit, have fun, like, celebrate the work and the years that you've been doing what you've been doing, and give yourself time to just like honor that instead of just launching yourself into the next thing and getting right back into doing, but just in a different context. So I stepped back and I just said, okay, for a period of time, I'm not going to do, and I'm actually going to get comfortable with just being for a bit and owning that.
Wonderful. I really like the mindfulness aspect of that and really being self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have really like the S words. It's a helpful way to frame challenges and overcome them.
Mm-hmm.
And our next comment is, our next question is, are there resources you can recommend for people farther in their career paths, at least a decade past quarter life?
Mm-hmm. Resources, particularly regarding what? I'd love to know. If it's about career transition, like moving out of where you are into something new, I really do think these same sort of resources apply. It is assessing, what have you discovered about yourself that you like, that you want more of, that you want less of. Looking at your life as a whole, what areas are filling you up, what areas you can sense need to be changed but don't know how. I would say I would love to hear a little bit more about what particularly you're looking for. So feel free to email me, or again, add something in the question box and I could get you something a little bit more specific. And I'll keep thinking on that too. I also don't know, I will say, not biased or anything, but if you, for anybody, if you're in a place where you are kind of trying to figure out that next step, it really is, I think, super valuable to give yourself dedicated time with someone like a coach, a career coach or a life coach, who can really kind of put you in a place of like abundance and forward thinking, and actually helping you discover what those dreams and curiosities are, and then just being side by side with you as you experiment with that in your life. So if coaching hasn't been something that you've thought about before but you're curious about, then totally get in touch, and I have like an ample amount of people that could be happy to work with you at the different stages that you're all in.
Amazing. One more question. It's a big one. I am 20 plus years out of school with a successful career, but I feel more and more that I want to make a world a better place. How can I stay on track to reinvent my professional life when it's such a huge undertaking, possibly including re-education in a different field?
I love that, and I appreciate so much your honesty with where you're at too, and really owning that there is something that you're curious about that you haven't been able to explore and that you want to. And honestly, I think the first thing that comes to my mind that I'll share is to just start, because it doesn't have to feel or be a huge undertaking. What's that first question you can dig into? Who is that first person you can have a conversation with? What is that first, maybe one course or like day-long workshop or something that you could get introduced to that field? Like, rather than, I think so much of the time, especially people that are like, in a successful career, happy with what they're doing, but kind of want more, we get into the place of how very quickly. We jump from like, okay, this is my why, and you said it, you're like, oh, I feel like I want more and that I want to make a world a better place. And that's such a beautiful like vision to have. And we, all of us in some way, shape or form, go right into thinking, okay, but the how feels so impossible that I'm not even going to try. Like, I don't even know what that first step is. So really just just fulfilling your curiosity is maybe what I'll say is the best first step. Is what's that one thing that you're curious about that feels possible to explore or have a conversation about, and then just keep putting attention in that direction.
Thank you. Someone asks, will the slides be made available with the recording? As a webinar producer, I can tell you that the typical answer is no. The slides will be visible in the recording because the recording will play the session, but the slides aren't available by themselves through the recording. I don't know if Gloria might offer to send slides to people who ask.
Yeah, so I think it's the same thing. Like the video recording with the slides will be posted on the Kappa YouTube channel, what Lisa said. If you want anything more, yeah, just send me an email.
So someone says, I find value in my daily work and career thus far, but I work for a nonprofit and don't know how fiscally sustainable it is long term. How do you balance doing what you love and making a living?
Yeah, so it also I think goes back to values, to assessing what's important to you. I think absolutely, one of my values that I put up there is health, right? Like, amongst my dreams and what's important to me about finding community and belonging and, fulfilling my curiosity. I also really want to put health as my number one of mind, body, spirit, and finances. So, a lot of it is again, like exploring, like what could be possible outside of your, your day-to-day, your daily work. What opportunities, who in your sphere of, in your industry is doing work that is exciting for you, that you also can see yourself doing, who is a little further ahead in their career that you can have conversations with. It really is, when it comes to balancing doing what you love and making a living, there's no one answer, and it has to be through a series of experimenting and question asking. And again, the same thing, starting with one first step to get a little bit clear on, okay, how can I fulfill my potential, the things that are important to me, the things that I want to be doing in this world, while also, making ends meet. And what does ends meet for me? Like, what does that mean? And actually, what if it's more than ends meet? What if I want to feel abundant in my life? And what do I want the money for? What are the dreams that I want, that, having more money is going to be able to provide to me and to make me feel sustainable and secure? So kind of pulling back all of those layers and first understand, okay, well, again, am I wanting to be like, what does fiscally sustainable mean for me, not just for the world around me and the definition of success that other people have that I might be, keeping as my definition right now. So pulling back the layers on that, getting clear on, okay, what would that look like? And then exploring, experimenting, testing, putting yourself in places or connecting in with organizations that are doing a little bit more of what you want to be doing, researching. The how comes much later. And I would encourage kind of staying a little bit in like the why and the what for now and exploring that.
Thank you so much. I think we've gone through all of our questions and we'll wrap up at this point. So I just want to say thank you to Gloria for leading the session, which was so inspirational, and I think everyone's taken away so much from it. And thank you to the attendees for your participation today. If you have questions or comments about today's topic, you can email Gloria, like she said, at her email address. If you would like to be more involved in Kappa's virtual training and webinar programs, we'd love to have you join our producer team. Please contact the Education Department at KKG headquarters for details. The benefits are excellent, including the opportunities to support Kappa's webinar program and a front row seat at a great presentation such as this one. If you have any questions or comments whatsoever, please send an email to education@kkg.org. Thank you so much for attending, everyone. Have an excellent evening, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thanks, everyone. Take care, and thanks again for being here.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.